Hey everyone, and welcome to the Daycare podcast. It is your regular host tonight, Mr. Nipples and Nick. And tonight we have a special guest, Katie Williams. She is a Army veteran, and you want to tell us a little bit about yourself to start off?
I served in the Army for a while and deployed OEF 8 to 2008, 2009 to Afghanistan. I lived in Illinois, I lived in Utah, currently live in Nevada. I am married, I have one daughter, and 2 German Shepherds, and that's pretty much my whole story. A lot of other crazy things in there, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It has to be more than a little while in the service. I mean,
yeah, it's about so it's about 12 years, so or 12, a little plus 12 years plus. So.
Oh, that's commendable. I did by 4, got med boarded, so I can't even imagine putting in 12.
Yeah, it flies by, honestly.
I just hit my 4th.
Oh, nice. Okay, there you go.
So Smoke Gratham said too. He put in 21, and he said it just flew by. So
it does. It's I enlisted on my 17th birthday, so it's kind of funny because you think like when you enlist at 17 and they're swearing you in, you're just like, oh my gosh, 6 years, 4 years, it's just so long, and then next thing you know, you're signing your second contract and then your third contract, and it just you wake up and it's just holy crap, it's all this time.
Our media kid is the kid that understands. He works on our page and he understands media better than we do. He's 17 and he's enlisting here at the end of his junior year.
Oh yeah, good for him.
So that's Scout's a good kid.
Yeah, that's good.
So one of our new admins actually, we just call him Popo. You know who I'm referring to. He's the MP.
Yeah.
He's the one that actually brought your story to us, and I was like, wow, that's big.
Oh yeah, he's the one that messaged me. Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's we call him Popo or 31, Bravo Foxtrot because he's an MP.
You're right.
Yep.
I knew him when he was just a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah, that's what he said. You were a recruiter back then, so.
Mm-hmm.
He said.
I was mean back then. I'm a lot nicer now. Yeah, ask him. You'll hear him like talk about how mean old Sergeant Williams used to make people sweep up sunshine. Go outside with a broom and just sweep the sidewalk for no reason.
I worked on the gun line. That's what we did half the time, is we swept the concrete. So that's nothing new to me. But he's like, this lady, and I'm like, who? And he's like, you don't watch the news, do you?
Nope. News can be negative sometimes.
Yeah, well, I was in long enough. Not long. I wasn't in that long, but I got in 2000 and deployed to Iraq in 2003, and I've just had too many friends' names in the news, and I don't watch no more. So
right.
But how that goes on. Pardon me, my NCO's installed that in me. It's, you get it.
I get it. You're just like, thinking, hold on.
Yep. But he, just to touch on the story a little bit for anybody like me out there, you were Miss Nevada, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So I was Ms. Nevada. So because I'm married and I have a kid.
Okay.
So I'm no longer a Miss.
Yeah.
Despite
I apologize.
No, you're good. I just, watch tomorrow morning. Somebody will sue me. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, she claimed the Miss," and I'm like, "No, I didn't."
And you're like us. You're very pro amendments, and somebody found that offensive, and they pulled your crown, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah. So basically, what happened in April, I actually applied to get this title so that I could actually compete in a national pageant called the Ms. America pageant. I talked to the CEO. We had a great conversation. As soon as we got off the phone, I just, kept going about my day. I got my crown and sash, started making appearances at events. I did my due diligence, and I was doing what I was supposed to do. But I left the current role I was in, and I was able to kind of express my views a little bit more openly, the way that I'd like to. And, she didn't really like that. So she asked me to separate my pages. So I have a personal page and then a profile page for the pageant. And I did that. And then as I continued to do things on my personal page, she didn't really like it. She would screenshot those pictures, send them to me and say, hey, these are wrong. But she would get me on the phone and actually be really supportive of me. So I, at one point, told her that I didn't want to talk to her on the phone anymore, that I only wanted emails, only everything in writing. She kind of refused for a little bit. And then after a while, she kind of got it. She's like, yeah, she's not going to talk to me on the phone. And then, because you know how it is in the military. If it didn't happen in writing, it didn't happen.
Yep.
So, and then as we got on, so the pageant is tomorrow, and I was disqualified on Sunday.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah. So of course, everything's paid for. All the sponsorship money's done. Everything's booked. They're ready to go. Now I don't get to compete. So.
Well, I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. Honestly, after everything that's happened, I'm actually really glad that this happened, because it kind of shows the world how hypocritical these systems can be, and how women like me, who have their own views and their own thoughts, that we're not allowed to express them openly. And the moment we do, we're penalized for them. And I think it's wrong. So for me, yeah, go ahead. No.
Sorry. No, I apologize for cutting you off there. How far society's come and how much, women have been able to move forward, and, all equal rights and everything, especially with the military, even, them getting the combat arms and stuff. The fact that somebody is willing to take a step back and actually, I feel as though it's a step back to the way that women have progressed. It's just ridiculous. Yeah.
And it's kind of sad because, I made a post one time at one point on my page, and I'd since deleted it because it kind of got so crazy. So I just deleted it. But I basically said, women aren't oppressed anymore. We're not like we used to be in the 1800s. We have every right a man does. And, we basically have equal rights. And, when people talk about, well, there's not equal because we have we have infringements on our reproductive rights. No, we don't. We have free will. We have absolute free will. We can do whatever we want. Nobody can say anything. And if anything, we have more benefits than men do. Take for example, say I get pulled over, or, if it were a counterproductive, I think men tend to get tickets more than women do. So
it tends to be true, but
I mean, it is what it is. They talk about the double standard when it comes to feminism, which is why I'm kind of against feminism. Because you have women who will say, "Oh, there's no reason to hit a woman," and then of course, then they get mad, and the first thing they do is smack their boyfriend. So I think it's a double standard. I think it's wrong.
Oh yeah, I hate seeing that.
When it comes to tickets, I think it's because men tend to be more belligerent.
Women aren't emotional? Hold on. Are you saying?
No, they are, but men tend to express in a different way than women do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Basically just be a dick to the officer.
Yes.
Of course, I've gotten the only ticket I've ever gotten was from a female officer, and it was so funny because I told the guys at work who it was, like which officer, and they were like, "Oh yes, the Terminator." And apparently she never gives warnings no matter what. It's always a ticket. And I was like,
that's probably good though. That's probably good on her though, man. That's fair treatment right there.
That is.
Because I don't care what you are. She's like, you're speeding, you're wrong.
So now that you have, let's be honest. You have a platform to speak from now, which is, a good thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to push for, whether it be, equal rights or firearms or politics or anything?
I'm a big gun advocate. Like, we have a ton of guns at our house. I'm not gonna tell you which ones.
Yeah, no, you don't have to.
And it's something that I just don't agree with is infringing on any of those first rights. Those First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights. I think they're there for a reason. They're there to protect us. And so my biggest thing right now, currently, the platform I'm going to use now is just fighting against censorship of the conservative thought. I think it's kind of sad that we're living in this double standard world where we are not allowed to express our views, and in certain professions we can't, because then we're going to offend somebody and get fired for it. And it's crazy. Yes. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Now, do I agree? Do I agree? There's like etiquette and stuff. Of course, yes. If there's someone there that blatantly disagrees with you, going in there and starting a fight with that person, probably not the best idea. But I think on our personal profile pages, our personal lives, if we can't express our own thought and free thought, then what's the point?
I agree. I'm somewhere between the two polar ends because one, I agree with legalizing medical marijuana, but I also agree with the right to own firearms. I'm somewhere in between.
So I don't think marijuana is a huge issue, honestly, because I live in Nevada.
Oh, yes.
Pot's legal.
Yeah.
If you're over the age of 21, you can walk into a dispensary and buy it, no problem. It's not a big deal. A lot of people think that it's going to cause more car accidents or anything else, and it really doesn't. There's really no, I don't think there's any difference. And now, then again, I don't have any statistics in front of me. I could be completely wrong. So someone, please don't email me, don't call me. I don't care.
Well,
yeah.
This is the thing. Right now, they're saying that it's being involved in more car accidents, but the truth is, they never took the blood work before when there was a car accident to find out whether or not you were under the influence of THC when there was an accident. Now in legalized states, it's an automatic, so they're getting more numbers and it's skewing the actual truth of it.
Yeah, I can't even, and I can't, again, I can't speak on that. I'm not in law enforcement here. I do have a lot of friends that do. They have road tests for marijuana if for some reason you're driving under the influence with it. Yeah. I just don't know what it is. So.
Well, we had a guest on a while back, Jose Belen. He is involved in the national lawsuit against the, help me out here, Mr. Nipples, the Attorney General of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. For legalizing cannabis as a form of medication for veterans.
Oh, wow.
So he is, it's actually been passed, the first time in history it's gotten past the appeals section, and the Supreme Court of District 2, the District 2 Supreme Court in New York has deemed that it needs to go in front of the court to be pushed forward. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of an amazing episode.
Yeah.
If you would be, I hate to ask you a favor, but there's a group of veterans out there that are nuclear cleanup vets. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard anything about them.
I haven't.
There were 17,000 of them shipped to the South Pacific to do cleanup of the testing areas that we had. Mm-hmm. And there's 300 of them left.
Wow.
And Congress is refusing to give them, to recognize them as atomic veterans, which would give them special VA rights, mm-hmm. For treatment. And if you could, just put that out there once in a while and do a lot of good for them.
Yeah, I can look into it. I don't know the details, so I'd be hard pressed to commit to something that I don't know about.
I can give you some numbers and stuff if you want later. I can send them through.
Yeah, absolutely. Just send them through an email so I can look around.
Yep, I can sure do that. They're a good bunch of guys. We actually had one on the show, and it still gives me the goosebumps when I think about it. So, as far as this is one thing I couldn't figure out between your professional life, your personal life, and running for these pageants. How did you balance everything?
Oh man, sometimes I didn't. There's a funny saying in the military, and I don't know if you've ever heard it, but if your professional career is going well, it means your marriage is going terrible.
Yep.
And I ran into that a couple times. I was a small business owner a couple years ago, and I owned a CrossFit gym for a little while. It was great, but I probably spent 18 hours a day there. It was insane, and I had a lot of fun. I think as I got older, I kind of realized where my priorities lied. My husband and my daughter are super important to me. My daughter and what she thinks of me is very important to me. So I'm constantly home when I can be home. I do travel a lot. So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see it. I was in DC a couple weeks ago. Then I was in Myrtle Beach a little while ago. I was in Texas a few months ago. So I do travel a lot for my professional life, and I do enjoy it. But I try to be home as much as possible.
That's great. I gotta say, from what I understand of your life, because I don't know you, you are setting a very good example for your daughter.
Oh, thank you.
You don't get to the level that you were at without being a decent example. So.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Having what I've, doing what I've done. Of course, you make mistakes along the way. You kind of look back on it and you're like, well, that was dumb, But I think as long as you learn from those mistakes and you kind of take responsibility for them, that's what's so crazy about this whole, this pageant thing is that a lot of people, you like look on the platforms. And of course, I don't even have time to read the comments. So, whatever I see, it's whatever people screenshot and send to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, great. Like people don't like me. So I say, oh, okay. I tell people, I said, when people meet me, they either like me or they don't. There's really no in between. So, when people don't like me, I'm like, sounds good. I'm still going to go to bed tonight and wake up the next morning. So, so it's kind of funny. So when they tell me, they're like, oh, I'm distorting facts or I'm stretching the truth or whatever, I was like, they can kind of say whatever they want to say, because at the end of the day, I know what I felt. I know how proud I am of everything, and I know exactly who I am. So I'm just, I'm going to go to bed and take one day at a time and do me. And if they don't like that, they can move on.
Well, your military career alone, having reached the level that you did, is enough to be proud of, more so than what most people can ever claim. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed it. The military, it was a lot of fun. I'll never down talk the military. Of course, I think it's like we understand as military people, we just have those moments, embrace the suck, and kind of just we just kind of drive on. They're really, as long as we're all suffering together, then it's not that much of suffering. But it was a lot of fun. I always enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm
got to be able to laugh about the suckage.
Oh, absolutely. I was in Fort Polk at one point or another, and it was like August, and it was the worst time to go to Fort Polk. I don't know why we went. But I was there, and I sat in a motor pool for probably about 10 hours. And it was the hottest day. It was like 113 degrees. I'm like, I don't understand why we're here.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, we were laying on the rocks underneath the trucks because that's the coolest place that we had.
Oh, I get it.
Damn.
I've got a good story about laughing about the suckage for you. Well, you try and think about the, that tradition that we have that I talked to you about.
Mm-hmm.
We had just got rolled into Baghdad in 2003, not long after Shakana, and we helped. We took over the Federated National Headquarters. And we're sleeping in the interrogation rooms, which I'm sure you understand was an interesting experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about 3:00 in the morning, and we hear this very loud, somewhere between a pop and a bang, about 50 yards outside the door.
Mm.
So we're running out, in our drawers with, Kevlars and weapons and nothing else.
That's awesome.
We had this sergeant, I'm just going to call him Sergeant P, decided it'd be funny to make an MRE bomb.
Oh, God.
And that was the first time I watched an NCO burn poo.
Awkward. I can't speak on Iraq. I was never there, but I've heard some good stories from it, that's for sure.
Yeah. It was, yep.
I think probably my funniest story, and people who have deployed with me can attest to this, and I don't tell it very often. I think it's pretty funny. And I think it just kind of, it reads into the stereotype that women can't drive. So it's kind of funny. So I'll tell you this one story. I keep in mind I was 18. I had just graduated high school, and I went to AIT. And then as soon as I was home for 30 days, and I deployed to Afghanistan. So I'm not very good at my job yet, clearly. Yep. And I was driving around my truck team, and we were on this base, and gosh, for the life of me, can't remember which base it was. I want to say it was Camp Dubs in Afghanistan, but I could be completely wrong. We're in this big parking lot, and my TC is telling me to, drive in a circle and then go over in this area. I'm like, okay, sounds great. So little E4 Williams is driving and can't see, and I crank the wheel all the way to the right, and I turn and I hit this tri-wall box. Oof. Out of this entire, and it's empty, but out of this entire parking lot. That's the thing I hit. And my TC laughs, and he says, Williams, I've seen you drive these gigantic trucks all the way to Jalalabad and not hit a single thing. and we're in an empty parking lot, and you hit a tri-wall. And he's like, no wonder. He's like, women can't drive. And I just laughed my butt off. And it was just so stupid, you know? And I think back on it, and I was like, wow, that really was funny. Like, how ridiculous.
Yeah, you got to have a sense of humor about that
And
stuff.
granted, that's 10 years ago. You know, I'm a much better driver now, I promise.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, that was your job, you know. You drove for a living, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was we had a lot, you know, we joked about the transport and the supply people and all that kind of stuff, you know, but
Hey, all I'm saying is I've met a lot of infantry people, and most of them would rather get a ride than walk.
Well, I was artillery, and we couldn't have done our job without anybody transporting supplies, because rounds, you know, they don't move themselves.
See, there you go. That's why I tell people, I'm like, that's fine. You can be infantry. Have fun walking. I said, I'll drive to war. I'm good.
Infantry has a big head, considering, you know, they're the queen. So we've actually got a friend of the show right now in basic. Just arrived in basic on Saturday.
Oh, good for him.
Left. On Saturday he left reception and went to basic.
Oh yeah.
So he's going to be getting a blue dress and a tiara in the mail here right before he graduates.
That'll be perfect.
Yep. You know, he deserves it.
I hope the instructors make sure he gets a good picture in it.
Yeah. I'm sure that our drill sergeant guest can pull some strings and make that happen.
Right.
So, is there anything you wanted to talk about? Any message you want to get out, or?
Well, you know, I mean, I want people to join me. Honestly, I want them to join me in this fight. Even though I'm a strong personality and I can do this, it's always better with support. It's always better with people who feel the same way. And I think people do feel the same way, but I think that maybe they're afraid to say it. I will say this, though. I get a ton of messages every single day. And I feel so bad when I can't answer all of them, of course. You know, I was telling my husband, I was like, I don't know if I need, like, someone to just handle my phone for me or someone to just log onto my accounts and do it for me, because I can't.
Yeah.
You know, so I do feel bad. I know I have a lot of friends that are just like, stay humble. And I'm like, I'm trying, but I'm trying to keep up too. But I do want people to join me. And so if people want to, they can join me on, it's katiewilliamsnv.com. So katiewilliamsnv.com. And they can just sign up for email updates is all it does. It also has all my social media on there, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that.
Hey, Nipples, could you add that to the description of the show then?
I got it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
I want to tell you, just suggest.
Okay.
There's a group called Mission Zero Actual out of Florida.
Okay.
And with your stance on cannabis and your stance on firearms and the fight that you have going, it'd be a really good thing to connect with them. Jose Belen and his wife Danielle are amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
I served with him, and your views line up quite a bit.
Mission Zero Actual.
Yep. And he's all about, you know, his daughter and his wife and his family, and he's very family oriented, but he's also very much for the vet and helping get word out there about any veterans, you know, mission. And he's also, one of our missions is his mission. That's why he's been on twice. It's veteran suicide.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one, honestly. That's a rough one. You know, I basically tell my friends to, you know, I think my husband at one point asked me if I wanted to keep going to these funerals. I said, well, of course I do. You know, it's hard. I make every single one I can. But I think it's a big, important issue, and it needs to be talked about for sure.
It does. And studies are showing the fact that it's being talked about more is actually helping.
It is, yeah. I think the average used to be like 22.1, and now I think it's down to about 20.8, I want to say, but I could be wrong.
But at the same time, the civilian sector is going up, and the active duty sector is going up.
Well, I think there's a lot of things to consider in that also. So, I mean, there's so many different factors when it comes to, you know, veteran suicide. And it's just hard to say, you know, what's the actual thing that kind of tips people onto the edge, or what's the actual thing that causes it.
There's 1,000 things. It's just people got to know they're not alone. And the more people talk about it, is the more they know they're not alone.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of, you know, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say this too, you know, when I struggled with postpartum depression after giving birth to my daughter. And, you know, and this isn't a secret. This is on, you know, public information. I've told lots of people about it. There's an article about it somewhere. I don't know where. Everybody just writes articles about me now. It's crazy. But, you know, that's out there. And I remember telling my husband, it was such an odd feeling. You know, I told him, I said, I know what's going on inside my brain, and I physically cannot stop the emotions coming out. I said, I'm aware enough to know what's wrong, but I'm not aware enough to know how to fix it. Yeah. And I think that's something that people, especially dealing with PTSD, deal with. They understand what is happening, and yet they are not sure how to fix it. And I think that uncertainty is where people want to avoid. They don't want to speak up and speak out and tell people that, you know, they can't fix it themselves. I think they should. And, you know, but at the same time, we have to be open and honest with ourselves. You know, are we ready to deal with that kind of conversation if one of our friends were to actually bring it up?
Yeah, we've run into that a few times with our show, and it's, you know, we have a good system. We have a lot of admins, and we all jump into the conversation at some point. So
yeah,
it's a good thing. We have we just added another admin, like I said, and he's good people.
Yeah.
I watched my wife go through that postpartum.
Yeah, it's rough because, man, you don't realize it's real until you hit it.
Twice now, and she, you know, I watched her struggle, you know, feeling connected to our kids, and it's a heck of a monster, I tell you.
Yeah, I think more so mine was, you know, I remember my husband was going through paramedic school at the time, and I think I was just a nervous wreck. I think I remember one time I dropped a glass of water and I freaked out. You know, it was a plastic cup. You know, it didn't break.
Yeah.
I just spilled water all over the floor. And my husband's just like, babe, it's fine. I'm like, no. You know, I think pregnancy and postpartum depression in general just makes you insane. For just a few times, you know, my husband recognized what it was. He could see it, and you know, he expressed his thoughts and his fears to me, and we worked through it together. I think just having that good supportive base is really what helped me get through it.
Yeah. I don't know if you watch Food Network at all, but Artie Sequeira, I'm sure I just butchered her last name, so I apologize. But she does a lot of work to raise money for Postpartum International, which I think is a wonderful mission.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm a little bit starstruck. You know, every once in a while I get people on this show, and you guys are big enough names, and I'm like, how do I talk to these people?
No, I'm just a person.
I know.
You know,
my husband. Pete says, and
yeah, my husband actually. This is really funny. Actually, I'll tell you this story. It kind of cracked me up. My husband was in the Marine Corps, so we always have these little inner battles with each other because, you know, like I'm an Army vet, he's a Marine vet. And of course, we just, you know, talk crap to each other. So it's all love, but, you know, it is what it is. And so when this started happening and I kind of started it blowing up a little bit, you know, my husband told me this story about the original Caesar, how he would have one of his slaves walk behind him. And every time someone praised him, his slave would whisper in his ear, you know, you're just a man. You're just a man. You know, someone would say, oh, you're so great, Caesar. And the slave would say, oh, you're just a man. He'd whisper it into his ear, and it kept Caesar humble. And so someone had said something to me, and I don't quite remember exactly what it was, but it was along the lines of, you know, you're an idol. Thank you so much. I can't believe, you know, this has happened to you, but thank you for standing up for what you believe in. You know, can I get my picture with you? And to me, I thought, oh, that's cool. You know, like, you know, to me, it's weird when people come up to me now and they're like, oh, can I get my picture with you? I'm like, sure, I guess. You know, I was like, can we do it from an angle so I look real good? And so that happened, and my husband just looks at me and he starts smiling. I said, "What are you smiling about?" He's like, "You're just a woman. You're just a woman." Of course, like me, I just told him to shut up.
Yeah, we've had.
Oh yeah, no, I think most people. I've met quite a few big names. Like I met General Petraeus when I was overseas, and that was for me. I was very starstruck meeting him, and I met Secretary of the Navy Ray Mabus at the time, and these people, I would be careful to put them on a pedestal. Not that they're not great men or great people, and same thing with me. But we're just human. We have our flaws just like everyone else.
Yeah, I can respect you for that. When we had Matt and Pete, Matt from Private Murphy and Pete from G.I. Lowe on the show, I was starstruck. I couldn't talk. I made a fool of myself for the first 10 minutes.
So. No. It's okay. Totally fine.
I'm getting better.
Yeah, no, and I think you'll get into it. I listened to one of your shows just to see what I was getting myself into.
Which one?
I listened to your last one, the Jody one.
Oh, Jody. That was a good episode.
I thought it was pretty funny. I kind of listened to it. My husband was listening. He's like, "You're going to go on this show?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Such just dumb private veteran humor." And I said, "Yeah, pretty much." And I love it.
Yeah, that's us.
That's what it reminds me of, though. It was just veteran humor, just kind of that you've been stuck in the field for 30 days and all of a sudden now something, simple is hilarious for some reason.
Our show name came from what, everybody's senior NCO says to him at some point. This isn't a goddamn daycare.
Yeah.
Well, this is that daycare.
Yeah. So I'll have to tell you another story now, actually, too, because now that you said that actually made sense to me. Because I asked my media manager too. I said daycare. I said, what? I mean, what am I doing here? He starts laughing. He's like, I don't know, Katie. He's like, just do the show. I'm like, okay. No. So when I was in E5, back in the day, we were actually missioned to go to Iraq, and at the last thing, probably like 30 days prior to, it got canceled. And I remember I had an NCO come to me, and I was in E5 and she was in E6, and she did not like me at all. I'm not going to say her name, obviously, but she despised me. Which, I wasn't fond of her either, but I didn't hate her. So, but, she at one point told me that I wasn't motherly enough to the soldiers. And I think I said something along the lines of, hey, we're going to war. Like, this isn't daycare.
I'm not their damn mom.
Yeah, that's I'm taking the cussing out, because if I don't, my manager will be like, "Hey, don't do that." But I did. I said something along those lines. I said that we're going to war. Like, I'm not their effing mom. I was like, this isn't daycare. They have to understand that if they make a stupid mistake, sometimes somebody can get killed. And granted, we're in support. We didn't do anything crazy or great, but transportation, we're at risk, not as much as the people kicking down doors, but I wanted them to be trained. I wanted them to be there. And it was kind of funny at the time, because I had another female E6 that kind of got in the middle between us, and she's like, don't worry, Sergeant Williams, she just is who she is. Like, she means well, just, trust me, like, just leave her alone. So I used to get, because I used to be called like the Chihuahua, so like, if you ask some of the people that I deployed with, and you can ask your new co-host too. He saw me back in those days where I was just, I don't know. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I've calmed down since then as I got older and became a mom. I was like, yeah, it's not even a big deal.
Speaking of, since you mentioned that your husband was a Marine, or is a Marine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, don't say that. He'll get mad. He's not even here, but if he listens to the show later, he'll be like, gosh, dang it.
One of my admins, she goes by Raven, and her friend is a Marine. She was Air Force, and they got into a meme war over the weekend, and she went on Amazon and sent him edible crayons. So...
That's funny.
Yeah, that was a highlight. We joked about that for a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My husband always says that the red crayons are the best.
That's what I hear.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've never tried them, so I can't, not over here eating crayons, But he was in 0311, so I guess that's the infantry, what he tells me.
Yeah, that's infantry.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever go to Iraq or?
He was actually in Afghanistan around the same time I was, which I thought was funny because my husband and I didn't even meet each other until 2013.
Wow. Okay.
And I was deployed 08 to 09, and he was 09 to 10. So we caught each other like right at the last second, and we were in the same area, but obviously never met each other. He's with Marines, I'm with Army. It's not like we intermingle. And it was kind of funny. So when we started dating, he was telling me, and he, where he was, and the unit that brought him into country and picked him up from the airport, and I was like, I think that was my unit. And he's like, no way. So it was kind of comical, kind of funny.
Well, the admin over on the page, Lilith, she's been on the show a few times. She was actually in Iraq the same time I was with the Marine Corps, so that it's a small world.
It's a small world. I tell soldiers that all the time. The soldiers that I had recruited, and they'll message me and they'll be like, "Oh, you'll never guess who I just saw," and it's always someone from their boot camp, or someone from the old days like us, And I tell them, I'm telling you guys, the older you get, in the military, the older you get in life, you realize how small the world is, how easy it is to remember someone, and how easy it is to see someone. I had a first sergeant one time tell me he was never traveling with me ever again because everywhere we went, someone knew me.
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny because I was with this one kid in Sea Cadets when we were kids, and I didn't even know he was joining the Navy. And I was at ITA school one day, and he just walks into the barracks, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I joined." And I was like, "What the hell?" So we ended up. He showed up a few months after I was there, so it was crazy because we joined around the same time, didn't even know it, and ended up serving together for quite some time.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's funny too, especially now in the 21st century, 2019, especially where social media has kind of basically taken over our lives. I follow a lot of people. A lot of people follow me now. But I went to an event, I want to say a while back, and I won't tell you exactly when because I don't want people to get in trouble. But and someone saw me, and he walked up to me and he's like, I know you. I recognize you. I said, "Oh, do you?" I'm sorry. Did we met? I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget and I feel so bad about it when I do. He's like, no. He's like, I follow you on Instagram. I said, hey, I follow you on Instagram. He's like, yeah. So we got to spend a week together and catching up. It was kind of funny. I'd never met him in person, but yet. And I just think the world is so small, and it's so easy to connect with people and get to know them nowadays. And I just love that.
Yeah. Mr. Dibbles and I have never met in person.
Oh, no.
He lives on the East Coast, and I live up in the land of ice and snow. So.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And I live in the desert, so.
I live up near Why Not.
Where?
Why not? My not.
I don't know where that's at.
You don't talk to too many Air Force people. I take it.
No.
My not is, how the Army has a few of those posts that they send you to if you piss somebody off.
Yeah.
That's it.
Minot is that place. It hits 60 below before wind shear here in the winter, and
that sounds.
You
gross.
don't like somebody, yeah.
That sounds completely gross.
Hey, that's where our spec forces go for cold weather training.
Air Force Special Forces. It's like an oxymoron.
No. I'm talking Green Berets, Delta Force. They all go there for cold weather training.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. So I got to ask, what's your thoughts on the whole Area 51 junk going on?
Oh man, that thing is so funny to me. I think it's very comical. You know what I think it's going to turn out to be is a big rave in the desert.
I think so too.
That'd be the best thing.
Honestly, it would be. I think it's funny. I'm very curious, September 20th, what's going to happen. Area 51's not that far from me. It's about 45 minutes.
Are you going to go out there and just set up a lawn chair?
I may. No, but I drove up to Tonopah, Nevada at one point, which is about 4.5 hours away from where I live. And you see it at school because it's kind of like off to the side. You can't actually see Area 51, but there's an Area 51 gift shop off to the side of the road. And I think most people are going to end up going there. Whoever owns that business is going to make a ton of money that weekend. I guarantee.
The hotels are making tons of money right now around there.
Oh, that's crazy.
Right.
Well, it's Vegas. I mean, Vegas hotels make money out every day. A Tuesday isn't slow. Tuesday's like Friday anywhere else.
Well, from what I understand, Burning Man is fizzling out, so it's about time for something new to take over.
Well, so we have EDC in Vegas every year, which is a gigantic rave. But I've never been. I remember seeing how many cars and people were here. A lot of people come from California, Utah, and Arizona to come out to EDC. And I think that's probably what like the September 20th Area 51 is going to end up. It's just probably going to be ending up like a rave. People are going to go out there, bring campers and tents or whatever. I don't think anyone's ever actually going to have the balls to go up to the Area 51 gate. I don't think it's going to happen.
I hope not, because SEC forces are just waiting for an excuse.
They don't care. They don't care. They will shoot you.
Yes, they will. Did you hear the whole thing was started by a 15-year-old kid?
I believe that. It's 2019.
We started as a joke. Yep.
I mean, Mark Zuckerberg was like 21 years old when he started Facebook. So, yeah, I believe that.
I actually started a joke group as well, or a joke event as well, which is synchronized slapping the San Andreas Fault.
Oh, no.
To send it into the ocean, and it got like 1 million people going to it already.
Funny. That is so crazy.
I hate to say it, but California is not something that's doing well for the U.S.
Yeah, I don't think it. So I feel bad. I feel bad for conservatives in California.
I do too.
I know there's a ton of them. There really are.
Yes.
I meet so many people from California that are conservative. I've had so many messages from people in California that are conservative who have messaged me and say, thank you for actually spreading this message. And they're scared. They, excuse me, they can't, speak their mind where they live because most of their friends won't agree with them. And I think it's sad because I have a ton of friends who don't agree with me. When the whole thing blew up, I had a friend post, she reposted my picture and said, I disagree with 98% of her views. However, I will support her right to say what she wants, regardless if she likes it or not. And I think I wish that people were more like that. I think conservatives are more like that. And yet sometimes we have this left side that's just, they're crazy. They have this narrative that if we don't agree with them, then we must be silenced. We must be shut down. And I think that's insane. That's absolutely insane that people can't have their own ideas anymore.
There's people on the right that do the same thing, unfortunately.
There are. Now, there are extremes on both sides. I won't say that there aren't. But they're fewer and farther in between.
Yeah, that's very true. I feel like especially major cities, which is where a lot of the ideas and stuff go around to. It's really left leaning, and like Portland and like San Francisco and California, you can't really state right leaning political ideology without being attacked basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's and I say this to a lot of people actually. My biggest problem with conservatives, honestly, and I'm a conservative. Like but my biggest problem with conservatives is that we don't say enough what our value systems are. We'll say it, and then as soon as people start to shut us down, we're just like, whatever, it's not worth the fight. And I'm not saying that we have to scream loud, but typically whoever is the loudest gets the most airtime. And why do you think we see the liberal media so much? It's because they are the loudest people out there. And I think that conservatives and Republicans, I just think that if we stayed in the fight just a little bit longer, if we were just more outspoken, just a little bit more, instead of just having our few hitters that do this, like back and forth, like our Candace Owens and our Charlie Kirks and our Congressman Dan Crenshaws, if we had more of those people speaking out, then the right would be just as loud as the left, if not louder, because the majority of the country is conservative.
Crenshaw's on my poo list.
Do what now?
Crenshaw's on my poo list.
Why is that?
He supports red flag gun laws.
Oh, that's not what he said. Okay, so I support Congressman Dan Crenshaw, and I think that he means well. I think he means well. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just saying. I think he means well.
Well, there's meaning well, and the man has my support. I didn't say I didn't like him. I just said he's on my poo list.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends on my poo list. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But whenever any wording involving support and red flag are together, it makes me wonder if somebody's been.
So he was, So he was actually on a podcast with Steven Crowder, and Steven Crowder and Dan Crenshaw actually had a really good conversation, and I really, really loved it. You know, Steven Crowder supports Dan Crenshaw, but he doesn't support red flag laws. I don't support red flag laws, but I support Dan Crenshaw. And Dan Crenshaw made an excellent point. He said, I'm not saying that we have to have red flags. He's like, but I'm saying that maybe there's a system that we can put in place that will put in these extra protections for certain individuals. And Steven Crowder made the point. He said, I could get behind something like that, but it has to be very, very specific, and then it has to be implemented across the board, which I understood both sides. I did understand both sides. So, and I'll tell you this right now, okay? So after this whole thing with me kind of blew up, I can tell you how uninformed the media is. Unless they talk to me directly, chances are the stories are going to be skewed a little bit. So I shared an article earlier that had said I was in the Nevada Army Reserve since 2013. I was like, well, in 2013, I was living in Illinois. So, I don't know who they talked to. And then I saw another article. It's funny. I have like a wiki blog page, apparently, a wiki celebrity page. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't see the, I don't remember what the actual link was. And on there, it talks about how I'm unmarried and currently not dating anyone. So I showed it to my husband. He's like, when were you going to tell me? So you have to be very careful about where you find your news and where you're getting it from. You have to be very clear about what you say to people and about how you really feel. And obviously stand by everything you say.
Yes. That's the difference between politics 30 years ago to now. Now it's sound bites. 30 years ago, everything was in writing.
Mm-hmm.
It was press releases, which made no gray area.
Well, 30 years ago, there was still media. I'm 29, so 30 years ago, we're looking at 1991.
There was media, but what I'm saying is they released more press releases. More things were put out in writing to the media instead of sound bites being released. It was more, there was a press packet given out, and it left less gray area.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on what news source you have. I think so there was one news source that called me. I won't say the thing because they'll actually probably sue me or something. And just like with you guys, I said, if you want to get in contact with me, schedule something out. You have to get in contact with my media manager. He's the one that does all this stuff for me. Because if not, I'm just flooded with calls. I'm flooded with emails. I can't handle them all. I can't schedule them all out. I still have a professional life. I'm still doing things on the outside. And so they called me and and they're asking me questions. And I said, hey, just refer back to my media manager. Please, refer to my video, refer to my media manager. And they asked me, they said, well, how old are you? And I said, 29. And they said, okay, well, how do you feel about this? Refer to my media manager. And so they said, okay. So once they realized they weren't going to get anything from me, they hung up the phone. And then the news article comes out, and it says that I refuse to comment.
Oh, good grief.
And I said, well, that's not true, but okay, sounds good. But I just let it go because, people are going to say what they want to say, and as long as you know who you are, I don't think it really matters.
Do you have a Venting Vets account by chance?
I'm sorry, do I have a what?
Venting Vets.
Venting Vets cup. No,
I don't.
You know
what Facebook is, right?
I do know.
Okay.
I do know what Facebook is.
Was started by a fellow veteran, and it is the only things he has banned and will censor is, child indecency, rape, murder, and bigotry. Outside of that, you're free to say what you want.
Well, that's pretty fair, don't you think?
Yes, I think that is outstanding. Those are the things that should not be allowed in society.
Right. I don't agree with any of those things. So.
But that's his rules. He will literally let you say anything else you want. I have memes on there that would have me completely kicked off of Facebook.
Yeah.
But it's it's another place that if you want to go and have more privacy, it is veterans only, and they understand where you're coming from if you want to, make an account there. Just a thought.
Okay, we'll do.
Sorry, it popped in my head. I apologize.
No. Hey, man, it's your show. I'm the guest. I'm not the host. You do what you want.
We try and make you guys comfortable, and
I'm in the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas right now. I'm comfortable. Trust me.
Oh, good grief! Yeah, I bet.
Oh, I bet you're super comfortable.
Yeah, this was kind of like my backup plan. So once I got disqualified from the pageant, I looked at my husband. I said, "Hey, you want to go on a vacation?"
There you go.
And then this thing kind of blew up, and so we're just like, well, where can we go? We'll just have a few days just to ourselves. And the mother-in-law flew it because they were flying in to come see the show, and so my mother-in-law is still here, and she took on our daughter on a little road trip, and so it was a lot of fun for them. I'm so happy that they got to go and kind of experience that instead of having to sit through a pageant. And so, we just decided to come to Trump Hotel, and I'm doing all my appearances and shows as much as I can. It's crazy though.
I'm sure.
I've been to the one in New York, and it was super nice.
Yeah, this one's great. I love it.
I can't even imagine what your schedule's like right now.
Do what now?
I can't even imagine what your schedule's like right now. I can't even.
Yeah, this is probably one of my slowest days. So and I think it's just because I'm kind of gearing up to go. Oh, so you guys will be the first to know. So I'm flying out to Dallas to go on the Dear America show, and talk to the Daily Caller and Blaze Media. So that's
congratulations.
Thanks.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome.
And I'll tell you this. I mean, if you look at my pages and stuff, you can see. Graham Allen and I actually have been friends for a while. And so when he got big, he got busy too. And so as this started to kind of blow up, he calls me. He's like, "Welcome to my world." It's kind of like a little jab to me. And I said, "I'm so tired." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty much what I experience every day." So I think my first 72 hours of this thing, I probably slept about 2 to 3 hours total.
Jeez.
So last night I got 7 hours of sleep. I said, "Oh, this is wonderful."
At least you have training for it.
I'm sorry?
At least you have training for no sleep.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny, and I was kind of running off adrenaline. When Laura Ingraham called me, she didn't call me, but she called my manager. She said, "I want her on the show." And I said, he calls me. He's like, "You want to do the show?" I said, "Yeah." Why did you waste time calling me? You should have just told her yes.
I just got a message.
Go ahead.
I just got a message from our friend from Backwood Veterans, J-Dub. I don't know if you've ever listened to their show. He was just hoping that, I could put in a word and see if I'll tell him to get a hold of your media manager.
Yeah, you got to get a hold of the manager. And it's only because honestly, I don't know my own schedule.
Oh, I get it. But, he wants to know that he's interested. So.
It's sad to say because, I schedule things with my family, and I'm actually flying back to Illinois to see my family pretty soon. I don't want to put the dates out there yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It's just a little far off, so I'm just going to wait. So I told him I have to actually call my manager and tell him, "Hey, I'm unavailable for these days." I've never had to call someone and tell them, "No, don't schedule me anything for this one." So I thought it was kind of funny. But we have a bunch of speaking events coming up too. So those will be on the website. We'll post them so people can kind of come see me or come talk to me. And I promise I'm very friendly in person. How you hear me on the phone is exactly how I am in person. I'm not, I try not to be too crazy. If anything, this is toned down.
So busy you can't manage your own schedule. That's wild.
I
get overwhelmed just balancing work and the podcast and everything. You can only imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of funny actually because I had a few hours in between today. I did a show this morning, and I think he's already posted the link. It's the two conservative gentlemen. Sorry. And so he's already posted that on YouTube. That's on there. But so in between that and your guys' show, I had a few hours. I said, "Oh, this is great." So, my husband and I, we drove around. I actually did some work for my professional life, and then we went to the pool and hung out. And I said, "Well, we better go. I got a podcast coming up."
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry to ruin your evening.
No, because I have actually a students, Students for Trump event that I'm going to as well tonight. So.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about at the hour mark, I believe.
Yep. Right up on it. 5
Is
minutes.
there anything you would like to add to the weekly safety briefing?
Yeah, wear your PT belt, drink water. Don't get arrested. If you do, don't call me. So, um,
It's the
no,
standard
but yeah, that's the safety briefing. Um, sorry, biggest thing I just want to say, put out there is I want people to understand that they are able to say their views without being persecuted for what they truly stand up for and believe in. If they want to follow me, they can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And my website is katiewilliamsenvy.com. So please get on there. And if you want to schedule something with me, you're absolutely more than welcome to. Just get a hold of me. You can actually email the website. It's media@katiewilliamsenvy.com, and you can get a hold of my manager. And you guys know how, so push that out if you want to. So if your friend that messaged you, just message him my manager's name and number, and then he can get hold of me and just let him know.
Will do. Just so you know, everybody out there that's still active, do not say that Katie Williams said it. It's okay for you to voice your views, when you're on duty.
It is. I mean, you not on duty. Not on duty, and then even while off duty, you may have to just be smart.
Yes, there's certain things that you're not allowed to do.
I'll tell you what the directive is. The directive itself is a, what is it, DOD 1344.10.
Yep.
So if they read that, they can read that, and then they'll figure out what they're able to post and what not to post. So.
But, there's people out there. I'm the oldest PFC the Army has ever had. So. But I got in. That's
something you should brag about.
Well, I got promoted in 2002, right? And I got busted again, and I stayed a PFC when I started my med board, and didn't get officially released until 2008. So I can tell you, there's a lot of privates out there that are going to go, well, Katie Williams said it's okay for me to say what I want, Sergeant.
No, that's not what I said.
You know how it goes.
Yeah. I didn't say soldiers could. I said conservatives. Conservatives can say what they like.
Well, that makes up like 3/4 of the military, so.
Shh, don't tell anybody that.
Okay.
Don't tell them the secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to put this out there. Reach out to your friends. Check on somebody you served with. Knock on your neighbor's door. There's too many people that feel alone, even if they're not. And a lot of times it's the people that's smiling next to you that just need somebody to ask them if they're okay. It's one of those things. You never know how somebody's doing until you ask.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you ever run into Gary Sneese, please put in a good word for our show.
Will do.
He is like our dream guest because we have Gold Star families that he's done so much for.
To be fair, I feel like he's the dream guest for everyone.
Oh, he is. But
he's the golden boy of the veteran community.
He is.
It's crazy. I love it.
I have a friend who's a Gold Star wife and with a Gold Star kid from a guy that I served with, and he has done so much for them that they would love to get a chance to come on the show if he's on and just thank him. So.
Will do.
Yeah.
I will.
Well, thank you again so much. You have done. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. Don't get nervous around celebrities. If your show blows up, then you'll have a whole bunch of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's one of those. I'm sure I'll get better with it. Like I said, when Pete first came on, I was dumbstruck and couldn't talk, and then Mark came on, I got a little better, and this one's better. So I'm getting there.
Yeah, you'll get there. You'll get there. Just keep plugging away.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, have a good night.
You too.